Hi, I'm Fred Satilli. This is the Voters Union of Accountability Nation, episode 18, and I'm going to touch on a subject that is really three subjects. A lot of times when we have complicated issues, they're circular, and because they're circular, it's sort of no start and no end. You don't know where to jump in and where to jump out, and you're not sure what the best course of action is. We have a problem right now in our society, and that is that we have a new way of life that's being born, and we're not exactly sure how that's gonna mature and what it's gonna look like. We're not sure what our country's going to look like in 6 months and in 1 year and in 2 years. And because of that, we have a problem that we've never had before. It's kind of insoluble. We don't have any experience to draw on, and that is the education of our children. So once again, this is circular, so I'm going to have to touch on subjects and then return to them. Basically, there's three issues. There's three things that in this triangular problem that have to be addressed. And I want to start out by saying that this is the Voters Union of Accountability Nation. I want to have a union of voters to address issues. So I'm not anti-union. I'm actually trying to create a union. But one of the problems we have is the teachers' union. And the reason we have a problem with the teachers' union is it has become a political force where it was supposed to protect teachers and so that teachers weren't isolated as individuals and rolled over by the system. In our world, in our court and judicial system and that kind of thing, our systems are all made to roll over individuals. If you go to court, there's a gigantic industry that's going to crush you, the legal industry or the corporate industry, and as an individual, you don't have any power, so you create a union, and now you're not abused. So this is a good thing for the teachers to have a union so that they're not abused, because as individuals and they can be batted around like a cat and mouse. But the problem is that rather than have an agenda of protecting teachers, they've been co-opted by communists who use unions to create anarchy in the country and destroy our way of life. So I don't want it to sound like I'm anti-union, because I'm not. I'm very much against the NEA, because the NEA is not a teachers' union. The NEA is a communist political anarchy device. And that has to be understood first. And most teachers understand this, but they have to belong to it, or they're forced into it, or whatever. And the teachers union has created a giant dissatisfaction amongst all teachers and indoctrinated society into thinking that teachers are abused and underpaid, and they've created angst and anxiety, and where they're supposed to be creating security. So once again, they're destroyers, they're not builders, and that's not good. Now, the next part of the triangle is we continue to have reactive activism. Something happens, and after it's happened, the voting public or the patriotic public or whatever concern, they react to something that's happened, and rather than take a proactive position and stop it before it starts. So I'll use gun control as a topical point, because in California we certainly have a lot of that. Now, right now we have excessive gun control in the state, and it's because obviously they're trying to take away people's rights to protect themselves from the government. But legislation is promoted or written or even enacted, and then everybody reacts, oh my God, this is bad. You can't do that. You have to be proactive. So what I recommend is for the gunners out there, begin to have shooting events. Go to the range, bring the kids with you, bring the family with you, make it fun for everybody, teach them gun safety, teach them the joy and satisfaction that can be realized through a shooting hobby, a gun club hobby, something along those lines. And you have a population then that is pro-gun because they enjoy it and they feel safe about it. And there's no chance for these legislations to grow because the population in general has a philosophy that's pro-gun rather than ignorant of gun and afraid. Once again, the fear, the destroyer, right? Now, I use that as an example. What we have right now, this is August, it's August 15th right now, and we have the school year about to start. And what we have found out is that teachers in general, not every single one, for those of you who are gonna, I know a teacher that, teachers in general, they found out that they don't want to work. They found out that they want to stay home and continue to get paid, continue to get their pension, continue to get their benefits, but they don't want to get up and get dressed and drive to the school and sit in front of the class and have all this thing. They'd rather roll out of bed, slip into something, have some kind of Zoom thing for 2 hours. This does not educate our children. This is not good. Now, in addition to the teachers seeing the new world, the new America, the new future, where they don't have to really do that much, and they're kind of licking their lips and saying, gee, not much is expected of me as compared to before, but I'm going to still get all the benefits and all the pay and everything. What is happening is our children aren't being educated. Now, the parents, there has to be a future. The teachers are not going to make the future good. The union is making this clear. The teachers are making this clear. So what I'm suggesting or recommending is a proactive approach by parents. And what I want you parents to do is, and I know how successful this can be because I've had a lot of teaching experience with people from the age of 8 to 18 and also with adults. What I think parents should do is to start their own schools and to turn their back on government schools. Government schools, as I said, are union controlled and therefore they're indoctrination institutions, not education institutions. Our kids are not getting a good education. They're being heavily indoctrinated, and this is displayed in these riots everywhere. This Black Lives Matter thing is mostly populated by white kids who, if you question them why they're doing it, they hit you with one or two talking points. They haven't thought it out. They haven't thought of it in context of their own life. They haven't done any rational analysis of what they're doing and what their future looks like. And so we have these disasters. People who don't understand that the police, they govern order in society so that we can be productive and safe in a productive and safe environment. There are kids who don't understand that, and they don't understand it because they've been poorly educated. So what I think is in the best interest of children and in the best interest of their parents and the best interest of the nation is, if you're going to be home with your children and they're going to be online for 2 hours doing something that they're going to forget as quickly as they forget a TV show that they watched, what I suggest you do is band together. Get a half a dozen kids or a dozen kids and have one parent take a subject. On Monday, let's talk about fifth graders, kids who are basically around 10 years old. The arithmetic is not hard. One parent who's a good business person, man or woman, get the book, read the book, find out what's expected for that year's curriculum. And on Monday, take the kids through it. You love your children. You'll be very applied. They'll be respectful because they're with you, and they'll listen to you, and you can teach them and you can give them homework and you can follow up. On Tuesday, another parent, get the history book, whether it's world history, American history, whatever it may be. Take a good look at it. See what the curriculum is. There's no reason to have Islam taught to our children. It's illegal in this country. It should just be recognized in a 10-minute conversation about the contract that they have with their government. Kids will realize that Islam is illegal. We don't need to know about it. We can't have it here. And then you can go on with your world history or your American history or history in the context of things, like history in the context of medicine, how medicine advanced through history, or how weapons advanced through history, or how language advanced through history. You know, nothing like a good linguistics aspect of history, right? The next day, it will be English. You get those kids together and you have them all read a book and do a book report on it. And you discuss the book and the author and the intent and the context, when the book was written and by who, what was the political, social structure at that time, why it's important, what you're supposed to glean from the book. Take them through good literature of all kinds, not just the classics. You can have modern books, and then have them write. Have them all write a short story and teach them grammar and teach them punctuation. Don't just have them bring up WordPress or Grammarly or whatever it may be that edits their stuff, and, you know, teach them, you know, syntax and all that. You would be shocked. I have friends who have a master's degree, and they end their sentences with prepositions. Say, where's your kid going to school at? Now, is that I just listening to Jesse Lee Peterson talk to a guy who's in a doctoral program at UC Berkeley. And I have a lot of family members that went to UC Berkeley. It used to be a prestigious school. This guy is in a doctoral program, and he's speaking very ghetto. He's ending his sentences with prepositions, and he doesn't know whether it's you and I or you and me, that kind of thing. And that's absurd for somebody with that level of education. And so I think that the future of education is to develop your own school. These parents have to create charter schools. You don't need government approval to educate your children. There are a great many highly educated people who either didn't go to school or were very poor performers in school, but who sure did understand business, and they understood their industry, whether it was medical or legal or industrial, whatever it may be. These software guys are amazing. Musicians, obviously, it's mostly application. That's another thing you can do at home. Most parents were brought up in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and play a musical instrument. Get those kids together and have a music class, whether it's piano, guitar, drums, whatever it may be, if you're a saxophone player, and give those kids some music, not only performance on an instrument, but music appreciation. Play the classics in every genre. Classical European stuff, classical country stuff, classical rock stuff, classical jazz stuff. Have those children have an appreciation for the arts. And maybe you, if you are a painter or a sculptor or a dancer, maybe you can have the kids participate in something like that. Educate them. First and foremost, among all the education, is give them analytic skills. Teach them the scientific method. Let them know how to arrive at their own conclusions based on study. Teach them how to research and the value of research. Teach them how to honestly analyze their own world, and they will be very successful. Another big thing that I want parents to do with their kids is teach them about business. If the camera's shaking a little bit, I'm doing this in the bedroom, teach them about business. A great many parents are terrific business people, and teach them what it means to take care of their taxes and their management problems, and teach them people skills and teach them sales skills, how to communicate with other people in a kind, friendly, productive, cooperative way. These things are not being taught in school. These kids in school are being taught to hate their own country and thereby hate themselves. I don't want hate taught in schools. I want our children taught with love, and I think parents can do a better job than anybody. I think the future of education is going to be through charter schools and homeschooling. That's where you're going to get the honesty. That's where you're going to get the love. That's where you're going to get the application, the communication between the parent and the teacher. Between the student and the teacher, the student and the parent, the student, the parent, and the teacher all combined to make a wonderfully productive society, in whether it's in business, whether it's in the arts, even if it's in politics. If you want your child to be a political leader, let them understand the way government is supposed to work. Government is not supposed to be a giant handout welfare nanny state. Wear a helmet, wear a mask, wear protective gear, hide from everything, radioactive, danger zone, medical hazard, chemical hazard. So once again, a union of voters based on issues. Proactive activism, not reactive activism. Don't tell me it's too late. They already raised the tolls. Proactive. You want to stop toll roads. You want to stop things like that. You want to diminish things like that. You don't want your electric bill to be raised a little as opposed to a lot. You want it to be reduced. Proactive activism. A union of voters based on common sense, proactive activism, and a future that includes homeschooling, charter schooling, and incredible parental participation, because nobody loves your kids more than you as a parent. Nobody should be more intimately involved with what they're learning and how they're learning than you. So to spank them off to school, most people are no longer getting in a car and going to an office building. I have a friend who had a 9 to 5 office job, and she was getting on the highway and paying a toll and burning gas, and then on the way home, getting on the highway, burning gas and paying a toll. And when the VUAN flu came along, she found out she could work from home, and all of a sudden the expense of the car was gone, and the 10 hours a week wasted on the road and the toll and gas money were gone. And now for her to do 10 hours of overtime and make more money without even infringing on her life became possible. And now she was home and her children were around her. And this is what she found out. And this is what the future is for a great many people. Obviously not people who do hands-on jobs. If you're a carpenter or a lineman, you got to go up the pole and fix those wires, or you got to, do some car repair or plumbing or something like that. Or you're a doctor and you need to, go to the hospital, and you still have to go to work. But there sure are going to be a lot of parents at home. And I think that the extra time that they get, not behind a windshield, ought to be spent educating their children. So, a union of voters based on common sense, proactive activism, and more involvement and intimate contact with the education of your children. I think you have an America there that's way better than before the VUAN flu. And I think it's going to be a great thing if we do it. So let's all try to do that. My name's Fred Satilli. I hope this message gets through to a lot of people, and I hope I'm on the money with it, and it's not, it's my idea. May not be everybody's idea, but I think it's a good one, and I hope you do too. It seems sensible to me, and I'm glad to have a happy and productive podcast this time rather than one where I'm all angry about something and I'm not being proactive. So anyway, thanks again for watching and listening, and I'll see you next time.